Candymonium is the newest roller coaster at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. This is a new for 2020 B&M hypercoaster, and just over 3 weeks ago I had the chance to experience this coaster for the very first time, and it is a great ride. So today I'll be reviewing it, going fully in depth with it, starting off with going through the layout and ride experience, and I'll be going through 8 different categories, including intensity, airtime, pacing, drop, duration, smoothness, theming, and setting. And I'll be giving it a final score out of 10 at the end of the video, so let's get right into it. Alright, so for the layout, you're going to come out of the station and go straight into your lift hill, it's a pretty good lift hill. It gets a really nice view off to your right. You can see Chocolate Town. Off to your left you can see Hershey. It's pretty quick, so when you crest over the top of it, you go over your first drop, which is actually really good. In the front or back, you're definitely going to get tossed out of your seat, and it's just really fun. So then you're going to level out, get some nice positive G's, and then come up into your first main airtime hill, which is awesome. It's super sustained. You're out of your seat like 5 seconds in the back. It's just incredible. It's an awesome moment. So level out from that and go into your turnaround, which is like a typical B&M hyper turnaround. It's similar. This one's really similar to like the one at Mako. It's actually really tight though, so get some nice positives. So then you're going to go up into a trimmed hill. However, when I rode at the trim, it definitely was not on, so you get definitely some strong floater, flowjector even, as you come over this hill. It's nice and sustained. So then you'll level up from that and go into a speed hill, which gives a nice sustained pop of strong like flowjector again. Then to a helix, which is nice and forceful, into a cool like outward bank turn to the left. It's not like fully 90 degrees, but it's really fun. It's a unique element. So then you'll dip down, go into another smaller hill with a trim. However, again, the trim definitely is not on this one. Then you will go bank left through this cool little helix, which actually goes around the pathway, and there's this cool kisses shaped fountain in the middle, which is really cool. It's a really photogenic part. It's really fun and a great photo spot. It's cool to watch people go around that. So then you'll go into 2 little nice pops of strong floater or even flowjector airtime, and then you will slam into the brake run. So that is the layout for Candymonium. Alright, so the first category is intensity. Now, B&M Hyper is not really known for being super intense rides, and I definitely say Candymonium is not really super intense. However, it has some decent moments of positives. I'd say like the valleys in between most of the elements are definitely, you got some pretty good positives, and especially going around that really tight turnaround. You get some nice positives, and coming up into that outward bank turn, that helix type turn, that definitely gets some really good positive forces. I expected that final helix that goes around the Kisses fountain to give some nice intensity, but it really didn't, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. But overall, I mean, it has some decent forces, but for B&M Hyper, I'd say it's about average in terms of intensity. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for the intensity category. Alright, so next up we have the airtime category, and this is definitely Candymonium's strong point. Most B&M Hypers are focused on the airtime, and Candymonium is definitely no exception. You have plenty of really great moments. You start out with that awesome drop, which tosses you out of your seat in any row you're in. Then you have that first hill, which is super awesome. It's really sustained in the back, probably the most sustained airtime moment I've ever felt. You're out of your seat for like 5 seconds. In the front, it's definitely stronger, but in the back, it's more sustained. Then you have that trimmed hill, which is pretty similar to the first hill, but not quite as good. But it overall feels like typical bigger camelback on a B&M Hyper, but it's definitely stronger than most of them. Then it has that speed hill, which is really fun sustained moment. Then that outward bank turn, which is really cool, sideways airtime. You have that hill right after, and those pops into the brake run. So it's definitely more sustained in the back, but the airtime's a little bit stronger in the front. But it's strong over every hill, no matter what, which is not the case with really any other B&M Hyper. I think most Hypers have at least a couple weaker moments, but I think every moment on Candymonium is great. So it will definitely get a really solid 8.5 out of 10 for the airtime category. Alright, so next up we have the pacing category, and Candymonium does a pretty good job at keeping its speed throughout the ride, even on those trimmed hills. I mean, those trims really don't hit, so you don't really lose a bunch of speed. You do kind of stall out a bit before you go through that outward bank turn, but that's really the only spot where it kind of slows down. I mean, you're not flying through the end of the ride, but you do keep a pretty good pace, and say you're probably going around 40 miles an hour. I mean, it's not like Lightning Rod or Millennium Force pacing, but I mean, it's pretty good. I like how it doesn't have a mid-course brake run. So overall, it's a pretty well-paced ride. So I will give it a solid 8 out of 10 for the pacing. Alright, so next up we have the drop category, and this drop is really fun. I couldn't find an exact height for it, but I'm guessing it's around 200 feet, and it's a 77-degree drop. And it's really, really fun. It's probably my second favorite B&M Hyper drop behind the Intimidator, just because that one lasts longer. But this drop is great. In any row, it definitely tosses the RDC, especially in the back. You get whipped over, and you get some strong floaters sustained over the whole drop. I'd say for a solid 3 or 4 seconds. It is very, very fun. In the front, it's still pretty good, but definitely doesn't whip you over as much, but it still gives some really, really solid floater, and you get some pretty good positives as you level out. So it's really fun, gives some great airtime, it lasts a while. You know, it's not the best drop ever, but for a B&M Hyper, it's really solid, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for the drop. Alright, so next up for the length and duration, Candymonium is pretty good at this. It has a track length of 4,636 feet, and the drop to brakes duration is about 55 seconds. So it is shorter than most of the B&M Hypers, like, say, Nitro, Intimidator, Behemoth, Diamondback, Shambhala. But, I mean, it still doesn't feel like a short ride. I mean, it's kind of similar in duration to a lot of the other smaller hypers, like Goliath over Georgia or Mako. So overall, it doesn't feel like a short ride. It's just shorter compared to a lot of the bigger B&M Hypers. But, I mean, it's still a pretty good long ride. So I'm going to give it a very solid 8.5 out of 10 for the length and duration category. Alright, so for the smoothness category, some people I've heard say this ride does have a slight rattle, but to me this coaster was basically perfectly butter smooth. I got 3 rides on this, one in front row, one in back row, and then one in row 5, and in all of those I found it to be really, really smooth. I got the Kisses and Twizzlers train, and those were very smooth, and I've heard the Reese's train actually runs the best, so I'm guessing that one's definitely perfectly smooth too. So really no complaints here. Definitely one of the smoothest coasters I've ridden. So Candymonium will definitely get a 10 out of 10 for the smoothness category. Alright, so next up for the theming category, Candymonium definitely has an interesting theme. It pretty much is just themed to Hershey's chocolate or Hershey's products. So it has 3 trains as the Kisses train, the Twizzlers train, and the Reese's train. So it's all themed to Hershey candies. And you have like all sorts of logos for different Hershey candies in the queue, and there's like all sorts of colored lights, and even the logo looks pretty cool and has like a bunch of candy on it, and like Hershey's candies. So yeah, it's basically just themed to Hershey's candies. It's definitely probably one of the better themed rides in the park, because there's really only one other coaster that even has theming, and that's Laugh Track. I mean, most of the rides here that do have theming are themed to Hershey's. So, like, I mean, it is kind of a weird theme, but I mean, it's there. So I'll give it a decent 4 out of 10 for theming. Alright, so next up we have the setting category, and this ride is a pretty good setting. You know, it's the centerpiece of the new Chocolate Town area, which is right at the front of the park. So as you kind of enter in, this ride is kind of all around you and surrounding you, and it goes above you. You can even like walk inside that helix with that cool Kisses fountain. That's a really cool photo opportunity, and just around like most of the ending portion of the ride, you can walk around it. But the rest of the ride kind of just out in just a big area of construction and dirt. I think as time progresses, I'll start to make that area look a little bit better, but for right now, it doesn't look the best. But I still like how it's right at the front of the park. So I do think it is a good setting, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for the setting category. Alright, so we are done with all the categories, and we have come to Candymonium's final score, which is going to be a very good 9.4 out of 10. This is a great coaster. It is my new favorite B&M Hyper, just ahead of Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia, just by a bit, but both are definitely great rides. Candymonium is just awesome. It has a ton of great airtime moments, which are really strong, very sustained. It has some pretty good positive Gs. It has some, you know, really cool elements like that weird outward bank turn, that awesome photogenic helix around the Kisses fountain. It's just a great centerpiece for Hershey Park's new Chocolate Town area, and just a great ride in general. Definitely one of the best B&Ms I've ridden. It's in my top 20 coasters. It's just a really fun ride. It's definitely re-rideable. You could definitely lap it all day. It is just really great. You know, it gets a pretty nice long ride. It's very smooth. it's really fun. I like how it doesn't have a mid-course brake run. The trims on this didn't even hit when I rode it. It's a really cool ride. It has a weird, unique theme. I like the color scheme, actually. It's just a really fun, awesome coaster, and definitely go out to Hershey Park to go ride this coaster because it is very good. So that'll be about it for my review on Candymonium at Hershey Park. Make sure to leave your thoughts on this coaster if you've ridden it down in the comment section below. And that'll be about it. So make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe for more coaster content coming soon. And I will see you guys later. Bye.